Hi, welcome to this week's video. This week I'm filming kind of close to like when I filmed for last week's video, so there's not a huge amount to show you in the daily pages. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different from that normal sort of catch-up video. What I thought I would do this week is show you how I set up my spreads in the hobonichi. The weekly spread specifically, because I do them in a bit of a different way from, I'd say, like most people. I have a lot of fun decorating these pages, so I've actually done quite a few of them in advance. But what I just figured I would do is decorate it and talk you through step by step the approach and how I do that. So I've just turned to this blank spread, which is towards the beginning of April. And normally my kind of theme or colour scheme for a particular week, I'll think about maybe things that I'm doing around that time, what kind of time of year it is, that kind of thing. Or it might just be like a particular sticker or a couple of stickers that I want to use. So I was thinking that I want to use a couple of stickers that I've recently received. So I think I'm probably going to go for gargoyles and keys and maybe pearls in this spread. So I've got this gargoyle sheet from Georgia Journals, and I've got this sheet from Bronte, whose shop is called Dear Whoever. So I'm going to pull these to the side. I also thought I'd use some of Bronte's letter stickers. Depending on the colour of the tape, that will dictate to me whether I go for the black or the white. So if we have a quick look, this is all my washi tape. I organise it now and again and tidy it up, and then it kind of quickly gets like this, but I would say that my collection is relatively pared down, so I can still see everything clearly. I quite like the idea of this tape with the gargoyles, but because it's very brown already, I don't know if it's going to end up washing them out. But we've got this sort of bluish toned one here, so maybe a bluish toned tape would be a nice contrast to the majority of them, but it's still different enough from that one. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go for. I recently got this tape dispenser from Flying Tiger, which helps. In the past, I've used a ruler when I've wanted a straight edge, but I quite like this sort of serrated edge effect as well that this gives. So just pull off a little bit of the excess there. And then this strip of washi tape, the way I do it is I kind of split the page in half. So I usually line it up for about the 2 o'clock in the afternoon sort of space. That's where I'll put the top of the tape. I'm just going to roughly get the amount I need. I think that's about right. This is kind of one of the first times I'm using the tape dispenser for this particular task, so it might be that I need to do it a couple more times. Okay, so it's kind of on the longer side, but I don't think that's an issue because of what I'm using it for. So now that's the page split in half. In this column on the side, I just do a general task list for the week. It doesn't tend to get very long, so sometimes I'll get to the end of the task list and put another sticker here. I think I'm going to get the best contrast with the white letters on this occasion. So I'm just going to lay these down. And I often like to do them not super neat, so they've got that sort of handmade's not the right feel, but I suppose kind of crafty homemade kind of vibe to it, if that makes sense. I think I've got some other stickers that are in more of like a Tudor sort of style font. That would have also been a nice set to use for like for the days of the week. I think those would have gone well with the gargoyles. But I'm not necessarily going to use all of the gargoyles this week, so I can always do that in the future. I'm always a bit clumsy with my hands, so I decided to get these tweezers. It's quite a while ago now, but they are exceptionally helpful. They make they make decorating a bit of a quicker job. Not that I see it as a job, I really like doing it. But they make things quicker and neater. So it's a win-win really. So I suppose, you know, just because someone might be watching one of my videos for the first time, I said I don't use these weekly spreads in kind of the traditional way. So I think most people I've seen online at least, they will time block in these spaces. But what I've taken to doing is using the top as more of a rough guide for the week. So largely ignoring the numbers, but say if something is midday, it goes around the middle. So it's just a very quick visual, quick reference point. And then if I need to double check the specific time, I'll flip to the calendar page. And then at the bottom here, I do tracking. So I track sort of self-care habits, things that I try and do once a day and things that I try and do once a week. Then I do symptom tracking for my autistic health and relating to some long-term health problems that I've got. And then I also do media tracking down here. So within this sort of view, it's kind of like my entire week at a glance from a few different perspectives. So I think these stickers are a little bit big for my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. But what I might do is when the week rolls around and I'm putting in what I've got on each day, I will just double check to see if I've got anything planned in for this particular week, is I might use these letters for key events, or maybe all of the events, depending on how many letters I've got of, how many stickers I've got of each letter to be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the tracker stuff in now. Part of me is thinking I might do a second washi tape just to help accent it a bit. I don't normally do that on these spreads, but something's kind of pulling me in that direction. Yeah, part of me kind of wants to use this Killer Views tape, but I don't know if that's going to get too busy. Actually, scratch that. I'll go with a little bit of this tape that I was initially drawn to, the brown tones. I feel like that's going to go well with the stickers. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple of little bits of this. I don't want to get too carried away. And because my trackers do take up quite a bit of space, I'm just going to shift this up on this page, and then I'm going to go down on this page because the media tracking isn't quite as intensive. Okay, so my head might bob into the shop a little bit just for this next section. I'll try and avoid it as much as I can. I can just about remember most of these by heart now, but I always like to just double check. I just like to do a line here. So these are the tasks that I like to make sure I do each day. And then underneath, I'll do the once a day ones. I always have to be careful pulling up the board or ruler when I'm using the mild liners because they do have a bit of a tendency to smudge. It's smudged ever so slightly there, but it could be a lot worse. down to the sort of symptom management tracker, I guess I'd call it. I might use these for the media stuff. The only problem with that is, so it's like normally I'd write watching, reading, listening, etc. I will run out of the I's, N's and the G's if I do that. I think I'm just going to hand write them for now and keep those aside for any of the events that go on these days. And then sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. I'm also just going to use the mild liner to highlight the days of the weeks and the playing, watching, etc. That came out a bit funny, but never mind. I do have perfectionist tendencies, and I try very hard to let go of those when it comes to the journaling, because I don't think if I let them rule, I wouldn't get very much done. I think that was kind of a thing that I had in the past, where I'd start a notebook, do a few pages, be unhappy about something, and then it would just sort of squander. Okay, so we've got all that stuff. I'm just going to see if I've got anything on this week. It's kind of far in advance, so might not be anything yet. So there's some stuff I might be doing, but nothing set in stone. So I'm going to leave the text for the top at the moment. Something I did think about doing was putting like just an MTWT up here. Yeah, I think that would work. Just because I want to make sure I'm incorporating these more, because I think it'll just look a bit odd if I'm only using them in one place. If you do sort of like this style of video where I'm kind of doing it while I'm showing you how I do it, if that makes sense. I feel like I've just jumbled up that word in. Then let me know, because I could do it for like the commonplace pages as well. But there probably would be like some lengthy patches of sort of quieter footage while I concentrate on what I'm actually writing. It's a little bit easy to do when decorating. But I think as well the other factor with that is when I do commonplace pages, how I set them up in that varies a fair bit depending on what it is that I'm doing an entry about. Sometimes it's very visual because it'll be something like art or architecture, but then if I'm doing, you know, I'm writing up some notes from a psychological study that I've read, that is inherently going to be less of a sort of visual thing. So it's very common, well, almost every single time I think, this column here is blank unless I put some sort of decoration in it. This one sometimes will be blank, but I like to leave enough space that if something's got a longer title, it will stretch across here. So I tend to put a tall piece of decoration here and something a bit more square-ish there. And then I might just dot maybe one or two things here, maybe one thing at the bottom here. So if we look at our gargoyles, I think this guy is like the longest and the tallest. So I'm going to pop him here, just on a bit of a slant, a bit of an angle. And then I think this kind of dragon type creature is a great shape for here. And that's perfect. There he is. It's almost like made for the page. Okay, and then I'm thinking, yeah, thinking maybe the blue gargoyle down at the bottom here, because it's kind of a bit further away from the blue we've got here, but still ties in very nicely. And then I'm thinking one here, just initially at least. I'm going to go with this person. He's not a person, because he's sort of long and thin, so if there is something happening on one of these evenings, it's not protruding too much, not getting in the way too much. And then what I'll probably end up doing is where I have gaps, that's when I'll pop these ones in. I think these sort of floral pieces and these round pieces will be nice for doing that. And then let's put a couple of keys in just to help accent things a bit further. So these ones at the top in particular look like kind of, I guess, rustic. You know, they look a bit older. Okay. I'm gonna put that there with that guy. I very much just sort of go intuitive with this, like what I feel like looks visually balanced, rather than planning things out too much. Sometimes I take a bit longer, but I'm also conscious of not filling the page up too much, because, you know, it's got to be practical space as well. And then I think I might just initially do a couple of pearls in here as well. But what's quite fun is decorative elements like this also appearing up here as well. So I'm sure that'll end up happening when this week rolls around. And often I will pick decoration from all sorts of different sheets, but I just happen to feel like the keys, the pearls and the gargoyles go particularly well together. I'm just going to use one of these smaller ones up here. Maybe another smaller one. Just up here. Okay, so the keys and pearls have sort of gone together there, but then we've got a couple of odd ones just here too. Okay, I think that's me pretty much done with that. What I often tend to do is, if I'm in the mood to do this sort of decoration, I'll do like a few weeks sort of in one chunk, and I find like that it's a nice way to maybe use decoration that I wouldn't necessarily use in the daily pages, and it's, yeah, a good way to make use of the stationery that I've got. So I'm just flipping back through here to give you a gist of kind of what previous weeks looked like, and then, yeah, this is the current week, so, you know, you can see a few things in here, but I've also got gaps. What I'll probably end up doing is, when it gets to kind of Friday, Saturday time, using a few more of these moth stickers from Killer Views to fill in a few more of these spaces. But this washi tape is highly decorative, so I don't want to go too wild doing that. I think it's quite a nice looking page without every centimetre of it being covered. Yeah, I'll often leave gaps, but just add in the odd bits and pieces as we go. But it's still a useful space, and, you know, that's the important thing, really. So we'll just flip to what we've just done. Yeah, I try not to go I try not to get too far ahead of myself, but I've ended up decorating to like mid-April, so I'll probably leave these pages alone for a little while now. Yeah, hopefully that's been helpful. I thought maybe it'd be good for people to see like a different way of using these spreads. I'm sure, you know, there's many other variations of it as well, but I'd say like, yeah, I'd say like most people I know use it for time blocking. And I was in the hobonichi cousin, not last year, but the year before, and I struggled with the weekly spread so much. Like I tried to do memory keeping in them, I tried to do time blocking in them. Nothing ever fit, and often it would end up feeling like a chore, and I ended up sort of abandoning them partway through the year. Whereas, you know, touch wood, this year they've been a really fun set of pages to decorate, but then also very practical for me as well. And it will typically be the weekly spread that I have laid open on my desk, so I've got it as a reference point. So I think, oh yeah, I've got this thing tomorrow, so I need to make sure that I do X, Y, and Z off my to-do list today, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's me for today. Hope you've enjoyed that video. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.